All right, so here we are at the Hilo Food Hub. I'm here with our Hilo Food Hub manager and founder and proprietor of Uproot Origin, Megan Brady. Welcome, Megan.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah, and welcome to those of us that joined in person. Thank you guys for being here, and for everyone out on the Zoom. And for anyone listening to this afterwards, we will be making this Zoom recording available. So to get started, why are we here? What are we doing? So whoa. This is a high-tech operation. Stand by. So we're talking about permitting and value-added products. What does it take to get your product to market legally with the Department of Health food establishment permit, if that's what you need? So before we go into all the nitty-gritty details, let me just give you the rundown of the funding for these workshops. This is all part of the Hawai'i Commercial Kitchens program, which also includes one-on-one technical assistance to any food business or commercial kitchen that's been in operation since March 1st of 2020, as well as these monthly workshops. And you can learn all about the program on the website, HawaiiCommercialKitchens.com. All the funds are from the U.S. Department of the Treasury, State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds Program, authorized by the American Rescue Plan Act. And thanks to Hawaii County Research and Development and the Food Security and Agricultural Initiatives Program, we are providing technical assistance to all of the commercial kitchens that also received funding through that program, as well as, like I said, any food business on the island. The technical assistance provided includes business consulting, business coaching, financial planning, HACCP plans, personnel management, marketing, permitting. We've also added professional photography, pH and water activity testing, and some additional consultants. So if there's something you need help with, we can probably help. And the commercial kitchens that also received funding under this program are the Hawaii Ulu Cooperative, the Kohala Food Hub, Touching the Earth Farm, Wikolehua, the Moho Kitchen in Hawaiian Acres, Onamea Farm Hub in Onamea, and the Kua Kitchen in Kona. Additional commercial kitchens that have joined the program or have been around for a while, the Hilo Food Hub here, as well as the new Pahoa Lava Zone Kitchen and the Pawilo Chocolate Kitchen in Honoka'a, Hamakua Coast Premium in Pawilo, and the Mahine Mele Market in Kealakekua. And there's more coming online all the time. So the commercial kitchen directory, you can see a list of all these kitchens on the website, HawaiiCommercialKitchens.com. And my name is Anthony Florig. I started this journey many years ago when I decided to make my own energy bar. That's my brand there on the left, the pig with the winged mustache R bar. I chose that because the number one ingredient in my energy bars was bacon. It was a high calorie energy bar. But turns out making products with meat introduces a whole new list of rules, regulations, and requirements and expenses. And I decided not to pursue that further. And then I started Big Island Box back in 2020, thanks to COVID. Shout out COVID. We put together subscription gift boxes with products from all over the island, and we're shipping those out. And that's how I learned about Hilo Food Hub. Started working with them, and then started working with Ha'ola Farms, who took over the Hilo Food Hub. And I did their agriculture and business education classes. And then this Food Security and Agricultural Initiatives Program opportunity arose, and here we are. And sitting next to me is Megan Brady from Uproot Origin. Megan?
Hi, everyone. My name is Megan Brady, and I am the owner and founder of Uproot Origin, LLC, based out of Hilo, Hawaii. I started my company in 2022 needing a kitchen because I wanted to do the farmers markets. Originally, when I started, I was producing and donating all of my products just to friends and different people. I work solely with local farmers here on island to produce our product. I do source from other places as well for our apple cider vinegar, all of that. We've grown from just doing the farmers markets, and we're in more than 33 retail locations right now on island and on the mainland. We have online sales as well. Primarily, my focus is to work with as many people that are growing locally from wherever I'm sourcing, and also to know where I'm sourcing. That moving forward from that, because I'm not going to stay too long on me right now, just a quick introduction. But this past year, in addition to being a member of the Hilo Food Hub and producing my products here, I became the manager of the Hilo Food Hub. So the benefits of that is I'm also a producer, so I'm able to really tap into what the needs are to our other producers here and to work with sourcing and helping to network them to other places as they expand their small growing businesses as well. So that's me.
Thanks, Megan.
You're welcome.
And shout out to the originator, the reason we're both here, Ho'ola Veteran Services, also known as Ho'ola Farms. Raise your hand if you're familiar with Ho'ola or any of their programs. Yeah. So Ho'ola started back in 2015, specifically to support military veterans and their families entering agriculture. And this mission has expanded over the years, especially when they took over the Hawaii farm to car market during COVID times. And then they took over the Hilo Food Hub. So now Ho'ola does pretty much everything in the food system supply chain, from educating farmers on how to start growing to growing some stuff themselves to processing and making value-added products in the Hilo Food Hub and having an outlet to sell those products and distribute them along with, fresh produce all around the island. So mahalo to Ho'ola Farms. So what are we doing today? So for our agenda, we're going to do a round of introductions here. Then we're going to talk about what is value added. What does that mean? What is a value added product? The Uproot Origin story after that. And then Megan's going to talk about the Department of Health permits, which we did cover last month, but a lot of people need this information, are confused about this information. And especially with the new homemade food rules, there's more questions. So we're going to cover the homemade food rules as well. And then on the other end of the spectrum, HACCP plans, hazard analysis and critical control point plans, which are required if you have a high risk value added product that you are making in a commercial kitchen. And then we'll talk about marketing, because you can add a lot of value to your product just with marketing. And then we'll do some Q&A at the end. Feel free to ask a question during the presentation. You can interrupt us. Feel free to jump in on the Zoom as well. We love questions. So to get us started, we're going to do introductions, name, farm or food business name, and why are you here? Also, if you are eligible for the Hawai'i Commercial Kitchens Technical Assistance Program, meaning you have a food business that's been in operation since March 1st of 2020. And also, if you have experience with Ho'ola Farms, Hilo Food Hub, or Farm to Car, if you're a producer, or if you are a veteran or active duty military or family, feel free to share. let's start right here with April. April, do you want to start?
My name is April Bullis. I'm here to provide technical support and assistance for everybody. I also work with Hawai'i Farms and Hawaii Farm to Car Market, doing some back-end operation stuff. I'm not eligible for the technical assistance, but excited to be here and share.
Hi there, my name's Jill Druin. I am over at Mountain Soul Farms with my partner, Peter Broches. I'm here to learn more about just value-added products in general, and just Peter and I have started offering value-added products, so we just want to make sure we're kind of in line, and if we can streamline anything, that would be great. And we have been taking advantage of the technical assistance. Lisa has been helping us with marketing, and Anthony has helped us in the past, which we really appreciate all the help. And yes, to the last, I took an agrifloristry class recently with Ha'ola Farms, which was about flower growing. And Peter actually works at Farm to Car, so.
To be fair, I don't think that was a Ha'ola class. I think was that Go Farm?
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
We do have a nice relationship with Go Farm.
Okay.
But we did not put that class on.
Sorry. Thanks
Maybe
for
next
the correction.
time, though. But shout out, Jill, Mountain Soul Farm. You guys have been providing produce and plants for sale on Farm to Car for a while.
Yes.
And now, because of the new homemade food rules, you're starting to put out value-added products, which are really great. We have some of them today, which we're going to try at snack time.
Yeah, pressure's on.
Exciting.
Aloha, my name is Maria Gakula, and I'm currently a student with Go Farm Hawaii. I'm curious about what it entails to put together a value-added product, so that I can do some planning for myself once graduation comes. I am not eligible for the technical assistance. And I just recently connected with someone here so that we might be able to try to supply Farm to Car with some produce from the farm right now.
Oh, what are you growing?
Right now we're growing KY cross cabbage.
Oh, nice.
I connected
All
with
right.
Tara. So hopefully, yeah, during our harvest season, we can connect.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hello, my name is Marion. I live up in Mountain View. I've been there for more than 40 years. I still have a farm. Most of the food I gave away at the schools because I'm just too busy as a teacher to take time to be able to sell it. So lots of freebies over the years, but now that I'm retiring, I'm looking for another adventure to do with my farm.
Nice.
Lots of blackberries up in my yard.
Ooh, blackberries, fresh blackberries sell out within the first minute of the market opening. So you don't even need to add value to local blackberries. Sure. Well, that sounds delicious.
Yeah.
But if you want to make money on your agriculture with as minimal expenses and processing as possible, if you have a high demand produce, I would start there by selling it. And then boom, your business is underway. You're making income. And then you can save all the blackberries you don't sell and make pie out of them. Or the other thing with blackberries on Farm to Car is, right, the fresh ones, you have to time it right, because it's only on Tuesday and Wednesday where you're dropping it off. So if you're harvesting on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, those are going into pie. Don't post the pies on Farm to Car. You can just talk to me directly. I will buy them from you. Thanks for joining us. That's great. Anyone on the Zoom, would you like to introduce yourself? How about Tony?
Hello, everyone. Tony from Mayan World Farm and my wife, Sylvia Vera. We are Mayan World Farm. We do whole sort of all around food crop stuff, added value like or infused honey. We do a lot of little here and there. We do classes as well. What else? We're here to learn a little bit more, to see if we're always following the right procedure. And always good to be listening to updates and things that's occurring while we are processing and moving forward.
Beautiful. Thanks, Tony. Glad you could join us. Would anybody else on the Zoom? I won't force you to introduce yourself, but if you would like to, we'd love to hear from you. Go ahead and unmute.
Aloha, Anthony and everyone. I just want to step by and say hi. This is Emily Emmons, and I'm the Executive Director of Ho'ola Farms, and just really grateful to have you all here today at the Hilo Food Hub. And with Megan, our fantastic Hilo Food Hub manager, you guys are going to learn a lot today. So I'm happy to be here and hope you enjoy the day, the afternoon.
Thanks, Emily.
I hope I get those throughout my my speech.
I'll give you some chimes. Yeah, definitely.
Thanks.
Okay, great. Last chance. Anybody else? All right. For those of you that are joining on, well, if you're watching this in the future, thanks for joining us. And we'll go ahead and get started. But before we do have some refreshments. This is why you should come in person to these workshops, because we have snacks and they're always local value-added products. We have, can you toss me one of those animal crackers? We got the new Ulu Flour Animal Crackers collaboration by Diamond Bakery and Hawaii Ulu Co-op. How cute are these? Go ahead. What do we got over here?
Well, what we also have over here that's not listed is that Amanda from Ikaua Farms is one of our members and also is producing her mac nut toffee and utilizing our ginger and turmeric powder from Uproot to incorporate into her toffee. So it's healthy and you don't need to worry about how much toffee you eat because it has ginger and turmeric.
It's good for you.
Yay. So we will be having some of that as well at snack time.
Excellent. Put it right here. Tangerines from Sunny Kapoho. There's some iced tea, hibiscus mint mamaki from Oribe. And then we have some, well, we'll of course have Uproot elixir spritzers. Is that what we call them? I like that. It kind of rolls off the tongue. Yes. Elixir spritzers. So with the animal crackers, we also have kabocha squash sourdough burger buns from Mountain Soul Farm. And we're going to use both of these things as vessels to put honey into our mouths, as well as, do I have the poi on there? No. So, yep. Pico Provisions, if you haven't heard of them, make baby food in these delicious little pouches, and you don't have to be a baby to eat them. You can be an adult, and it's still a great nutritious snack. And then I was just at the Agri Policy Summit this morning, and they had poi pops, so we can do a little poi compare and contrast. Oh yes, and of course the honey. So we have some macadamia honey in a little squeezable pouch here from, did I spell that wrong? I don't think that M should be there. And, oh, I don't see the brand name on here. Hawaiian Rainbow Bees, LLC. And then we have Spicy Ninja Honey. You might know them for their hot sauce. This is their Love Potion blend of honey. It's got a heat level of 3 out of 6. So it's a little spicy, as you can imagine.
And the thing that's actually, I'm going to add in something about all of this. One of the things about all of these snacks is it's amazing to see people's different choices in packaging, because there's so many options when you decide to create a value-added product. And I just saw 5 that I'm interested in right now. So because everything I do is in glass, I would like alternative options. So
Yeah.
very inspiring to be able to kind of see what other people are doing as well. So
just in general, packaging is a big part of, you know, your product and your brand identity. You can add value with your packaging. And especially out here in Hawaii, glass is heavy. Weight has to be considered with everything you're doing if you are bringing stuff in and shipping stuff out. Megan, you know anything about that?
why, yes, I do.
Question.
As a consumer, I'm looking to stay away from the plastics because I'm finding a lot of it in my garden soil.
Yeah.
And I don't like that.
Yeah.
And we're finding it in our rainwater.
Yeah.
So now it's in my water system.
Yeah.
So I can't get away from it unless I decide not to purchase something in plastics.
Yep. And that's a sentiment that's shared with a lot of consumers, especially in Hawaii. Yeah. Jill.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that, like Peter and I at Mountain Soul Farms are pretty committed to not using single-use plastic in our products. And that's definitely something, if you look at our squash buns, I don't want to say it's pretty basic. I mean, we are just starting off, but it is basic because we are having a hard time finding something that's, you know, a reasonable price point that works for the product. So that's still a work in progress, but I think mentioning that single-use plastic is something that really we should not be pushing probably as a whole. We live on an island and we bury our trash. So
yeah.
And we don't recycle plastic.
Yep.
But we can recycle glass and we can reuse it and clean it and use it again and again and again.
All right. And we'll get into packaging a little bit more in the marketing section at the end. So what is value? Let's start there. Before we can talk about value added, what is value itself? Let's get a little philosophical. Go ahead and what is value to any of you? Go ahead. Feel free to share.
Just something that has meaning to me and maybe makes me feel good, or I feel like
makes you feel
it was
good,
worth
has
spending
meaning.
my money on.
It's
gonna make my day more positive in a way. Whether
that
means it's adding good nutrition to my diet,
nutritional value. Yep.
Just making me happy.
Excellent. Any other thoughts? Anyone from the Zoom? Feel free to put answers or questions in the chat. The more interaction we have with these workshops, the better. I find that people learn the most when they are interacting and asking for specific information. But Jill, you kind of hit it on the head and you hit both sides of the question. If you Google this or, go to school for philosophy, they break it down pretty steep into many different categories. But this is my personal opinion. There's two types of value: monetary value and sentimental value. Sentimental, it meets a felt need. It's important to you. There's fulfillment. Local nutrition is sentimental, but also can be monetary, right? If you're selling a local product or an organic product, you can sell it for more money. In the strictly market capitalist sense, what is a customer willing to pay for your product? Value also, for me, it means like, it's a good deal, right? You could have an amazing product, but if you can't afford it, then it doesn't really have value to you. And again, what is the market value, right? What can you sell your product for on the open market? So what is value added then? So the USDA definition, which is important for us ag producers, is a change in the physical state or form of the product, such as milling wheat into flour or making strawberries into jam. The other part of the definition is the production of a product in a manner that enhances its value. So my favorite example of this is, well, some examples: Kobe beef, Kona coffee, organic produce. These are all things that add value. My favorite example is the famous egg of the sun mango, the most expensive mangoes ever sold. I think this was the current record, I believe. Correct me if somebody has another one. A pear, that's a photo of the actual mangoes that sold for 600,000 yen at auction. And that translates into $3,831 at today's market price of dollars to yen. Or for those of you that are following the price of silver right now, 63 ounces of silver. So the reason I included those three different denominations is because it shows that monetary value can fluctuate depending on what currency you're using. The value of the currency can go up and go down. So something to consider when we're talking about value. What is the difference between these two things? Time. Close. One's $1.65 a pound, one's $3.15 a pound. But the reason that they're different is because of time. If you don't know, a red bell pepper is just a green bell pepper that was allowed to ripen on the vine. So you could have just produce, right? It doesn't have to be a packaged product. And you can add value to your produce by the way that you grow it, right? Organic practices, or by leaving it to ripen. That adds value.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
I don't mean to sound dense, but are all bell peppers the same? They're just at different stages, or are they different varietals?
Different varieties, yeah.
And meaning the red takes longer.
Red and green are the same. And then yellow and orange are the same.
Good to know.
Right? But people don't know that. I didn't learn that until I was like 5 years into working at a horticulture therapy company. So,
Anthony, I have a question.
Yeah.
Do they evaluate the cost of the red pepper to be higher because the window of delivery to like no longer good is a shorter window? Like why do you get more for the more ripened pepper?
I mean, the purely capitalist answer is simply market demand versus supply. People pay more for red bell peppers. They have more flavor. One of the reasons is they don't have as long of a shelf life. So the supply, it's harder to supply the same amount.
I learned something new today. That's for sure.
So value-added products. Like I said, you could just have fresh produce, which is considered a raw agriculture commodity, or a RAC for short. You could, this is my personal opinion, you can add value, be a value-added product. It's just raw produce. To take it one step further, you can package your raw produce, your raw agricultural commodities, and that can add value to it. And then you get into what most people consider value-added products when you're processing them and packaging them into an additional thing, like Hawai'i Ulu Co-op. Well, so Hawai'i Ulu Co-op, what you're looking at there, their main number one product is their frozen ulu, which has been steamed. So it's already cooked, and then it gets frozen. It gets cut, and then it gets frozen. So there's those 3 steps, but it's just pure ulu, right? And then you go into more processing, adding additional ingredients, and you have things like chocolate or Megan's Uproot Origin, or tea. So packaged, processed and packaged, refrigerated or frozen. And remember this term, temperature controlled for safety. We'll get back to that when we talk about the homemade food rules. So the value-added products, value can be added or captured at each link of the value chain, supply chain. Technically, these are two different things, but I like to use it. I just call it a value supply chain, right? Basically, every step that it takes to get your product from the very beginning into the hands or mouths of the consumer. So whether it's the first step, you're farming, you're sourcing raw materials, you're harvesting, you're processing and production, packaging, marketing, inventory and fulfillment, wholesale sales, retail sales. Each stage of this chain, you can add value to your product. For example, Megan, go ahead and pick one of those.
Wholesale sales.
Wholesale sales. So this is when you're selling your product at the highest volume and the lowest price point. You want to move a lot of product. This is something that you're going to do if you're scaling up, right? You're going to be able to capture more dollars from retail sales, right? There's a higher profit margin. You're charging a higher price. But wholesale, you're selling high volume at a lower price. So what are you saving with wholesale sales? Time.
That's what I was just going to say. So one of the things about getting in and doing the wholesale sales, because I do both. I do events where I'm out interacting with the community, the public, doing samples, doing demos, events, holidays. Although what's keeping me going is those consistent wholesale sales where we're on a shelf. We're getting that interacting with the public without physically being there. So taking the time to do the retail and interface is really important, although it's the wholesale sales that keep that consistent, as your business continues to stabilize and more orders are coming in consistently. That's something that you're able to, as you go along, you're able to actually plan for those sales and those. So for instance, on farm to cars adaptation, all of the online markets, I'm able to be on those. So I have people that not only are spreading our products out there, they're actually marketing for us as well. And so that's been really beneficial as a business growing, is that I'm able to tap into other locations without physically being able to pack up a tent every week and go to 25 places. It's a fantastic way to get started, the farmers markets and everything. And then there's that time when you decide, do I do that in addition to being able to go wholesale? Because exactly what you mentioned, time.
Bingo.
That's what we need as business owners, especially starting out. Our time is precious.
Well, and you made a great point too, Megan, about the marketing. So if you're selling 1,000 bottles of Uproot Origin to a distributor in California, right, you're not making as much per bottle on those, but those bottles are going out to multiple retail locations, and then customers are getting a hold of them and saying, ooh, I love this. Let me check their website. Oh, I can order and she can ship to me every month and I can just subscribe. And then boom, you have a new retail customer. And now you're capturing that higher profit margin thanks to your wholesale sales. And then, so another example, harvesting, right? That's the red bell pepper versus the green bell pepper. You can add value just by the way you harvest. Raw materials. So this can go one of two ways. If you're sourcing raw materials, you can source higher quality organic. So for example, if you have apple cider vinegar in your product, but you want organic American-made apple cider vinegar, you're going to pay more for that, but now you're able to have that in your product and include it as a feature, and that adds value to what you can charge. And the nutritional benefit, right? It feels better to drink it. And it not just feels better, but is more nutritious. Any questions on the value supply chain? All right. And I think I was supposed to move this slide. Made in the USA. So marketing, additional ways you can add value from marketing, you know, not talking about brand and logo right now, but additional things you can do is making different claims about your product or getting specific licenses for your product. So made in the USA, that's something that adds value to a product. That's a claim that is enforced by the FTC. Made in Hawaii, that's at least 51% of the wholesale value added by activity is done in Hawaii. That is enforced by the Hawaii Department of Ag. And then there's licenses like Made in Hawaii with Aloha, the Hawaii Seal of Quality, or Homegrown by Heroes, which is the Farmer Veteran Coalition. So these are all additional things that you can do that if your product meets those specifications, it might be a good idea to go through the paperwork to get these licenses. It might be worth it to pay the money if there's a charge because it adds value to your product and your brand. So with that, I'm going to pass it back over to Megan to talk about Uproot Origin and her journey on creating this value-added product. Oh, that's the wrong one. We'll edit that out.
Okay. Hi again, everyone. My name is Megan, and I'm going to stay on task and keep it quick. I do have my origin story also on our website. So I started Uproot in 2022, and I actually did not start this company as a company. I started making a product for my health and wellness after I had had a surgery. That was pretty massive for me and a lot of things that led up to that. And so it is important for me to disclose, in addition to what my doctors recommended, I started taking some different products just to kind of help with, you know, working on my metabolism, working on my joints, working on a lot of different things. A lot of them stem personally from what I was experiencing while I was on the journey to recovery from some big medical decisions that I was making. That being said, as I was making this, these different ingredients I was taking, I decided to try them all together because I was lazy and I wanted to not take 5 different things. So I started kind of working on a recipe, and I was taking it at the time and I was sharing it with friends. Again, I had a job. I was not in the market to say, hey, this is a great idea. I think I should start a company. I was really, really focused on my health and well-being and sharing something that was benefiting me with others. And as things kind of grew and I was making some, making elixir with that, if you can see the slide, that's how I started, with one of those small juicers in my studio kitchen in Hilo. And things started kind of growing from there. And so then I started looking into what I needed to do to make it a company, because I started with not only sharing it with my friends, I was also sharing it with the unhoused community in Kawakawa Park during COVID. So I was making jugs and I was heading down with my little shot glasses, biodegradable, little shots, taking them down to Kawakawa Park and sharing it with friends that I had made in the unhoused community. On top of that, I was working with wanting to really share it with more at-risk folks. So come to find that I couldn't legally be doing that anymore. I guess it's illegal to be slinging things out of your studio kitchen and giving it to some people that are at risk. So I started the process of learning, well, what do I do if I want to make this something that is more legitimate? And so hence I showed up here at the Hilo Food Hub. Anthony was one of the first people I met in 2022. And I walked in the door and he said, "What are you here to do?" And I said, "Well, I make this stuff, this drink." And he said, "Well, what's it called?" And I said, "I don't know." And he said, "Well, how much are you going to make?" And I said, "I don't know." And he said, "What does your label look like?" And I said, "I don't know," because I knew nothing.
And I was like, "How much are you selling it for?" And you're like, "I'm giving it away to the homeless." I was like, all right, well,
yeah,
I don't know if you have a business, but there is a permit for that. So on the slide here, this is copied and pasted from the actual food establishment permit, which we'll get into. There's a price, $100, $200, or $300 based on what you're doing. Or if you are giving away your product to the homeless without compensation, the permit is free. So I was like, "Megan, do you want to go after this permit and continue to give away your product for free, or do you want to do a business?" And she was like, "I think I want to do a business."
yes, I did want to do a business, although I wasn't expecting my life to get to the place of what's happening now. But quickly back to the beginning. So I did meet with the health department. We did come up with a name. I did come up with the label that worked at the time. I was in plastic. I was doing things very differently. What happened was I then was deemed I was at risk. I was a level risk of top risk because I was making juice. So the thing that was great about it was I was told, "Well, you're a dietary supplement though. So you aren't going to have to run through a lot of the regulations involved with this particular product." And I wanted to be food. And one of the biggest reasons is that I did not want to make a product that was not accessible to everybody. And when I say that, where available, for instance, Farm to Car, the food hubs, some of the stores we're in, you can access our product with SNAP and EBT. And for us to be able to be eligible for that as a company, I went from not having a lot of regulations to having a HACCP plan. So I went completely across the board with the lab testing, the time, the this, the that. So the beginning of my journey was fairly difficult. I was difficult. I didn't understand why there were certain things that I was required to do. I didn't understand that things took time. And fast forward to, I'm just going to jump around and stay on task. Fast forward to more closer to where we are now. So I did the HACCP. I got passed. We had the name, we had the bottles, we got the labels, we did the stuff. And then we started growing a little bit. Now, when I say growth, 2 extra bottles is growth. 1 extra call is growth. So I think that where I'm at now as to where I was before was I didn't walk in knowing what I know now. And I know that takes time and learning, but that's why I'm here now. Because I'm here because I believe I can save people a lot of time from the time I spent kind of running around like a chicken with my head cut off and not understanding. So we went from our first time in the kitchen here at the Hilo Food Hub, we brought in a 25-pound bucket of turmeric. That was my production. We have, and I'm saying this so you can see that we ended before we bought the large juicer in the slide in the last picture. We were juicing out of 8 of those smaller juicers with multiple people. We are now, our first run next week, our first load coming in is 4,000 pounds. So we're scaling to realize the time of year, working with farmers, what time is harvest, like everything is now yes, you have to have room for rain, sun, storms, this and that. And at the same time, it has taken this time for me to understand as a business owner and a human being, giving myself the grace to learn, to step back, to do things in order, and also to learn scaling, what it looks like to prepare for a harvest. Because what was happening before, and when I first got started, I was making things to order or thinking, oh, this is maybe how much I need. A lot of what held me back was fear that people wouldn't want my product. And that's something else. My growth has come with also taking some leaps of faith, and also there are a lot of projections when we start a business and it starts growing. And when I say growth, that's 2 stores. It doesn't have to be 50, because as you kind of get the formula down, it's easier to scale as you're going along. We went, right now we're slowly upgrading our equipment. As you can see, if you can see the slide, the juicer on the far right, that has the capability of juicing, I'm told, 4,000 pounds a day. Now, I'm terrified of that, and I don't know how to do that. So I have people coming to train me this week to teach me how to do that, because my goal would be, as Uproot and what we do, and I'm going to jump into adding something about the Hilo Food Hub and managing, is that being here and being a producer as well as the manager here, I see the need to be supportive to other people that are starting from a small juicer and moving up. Or I can say, hey, I have this small juicer, and maybe as you grow, we can see how it works with the larger one. So for me, it all kind of blends together as to where I'm at right now with Uproot. We are growing as a company. We are scaling. We do a lot of shipping. So that's something we'll get into later. And I do a lot of work with the community. Most importantly for me right now is I feel placed in the right place, because not only am I here being able to support other producers, because I'm not just the manager, I am a person that works in these kitchens. That is important. I'm also networking with farmers. I'm networking with Ho'ola. The more I sit here and I have an opportunity to share with others, I'm relearning what I'm doing. And so one of the things too about being a part of my business here in Hawaii, here at this particular kitchen, is that I work with others. I'm networking. There is a hub of farmers, producers. Oh, I ran out of these bottles. Does anybody else have any? There's this kind of camaraderie that happens. And so there are things about the company that I'm still learning. I don't have the time that I had before to be able to be with my clients face to face, let's say at a farmer's market or something. So I get to do it now. I get to do it like this. And that's something that I'm really grateful for. I'm sorry if I'm all over the map today, but thank you. I'm a little nervous because I have a guest person here today. I'm going to share it with everybody because it's really important. And I am going to do a little tiny thing about this. One of the ways that I have gotten to where I'm at is my family. And it's kind of been like, whoa, what are you doing? Like, are you sure you're doing this? And so, you know, the business is growing, and my dad's here today, signed in. And
shout out Megan's dad. Thanks for joining us.
And that means a lot, because the love and support of my family has meant everything, as well as the love and support of Ho'ola, the state of Hawaii, all of Anthony, Emily. I'm just really grateful to be here right now. And Uproot is growing because I'm growing with other people, and people believe in me. And that's one of the reasons why it's so important to me with the position of managing the Hilo Food Hub as well, is because I believe in every person that walks in this door, and I will share anything. If someone needs some support, I've got it because I understand it. So I'm grateful to be here, and thanks for letting me get into that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Didn't mean to get emotional, but I feel a little emotional.
Well, we can remove all the emotion now and talk straight about the Department of Health.
This is when it gets exciting.
Nitty gritty.
Shall I jump in?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Well, here we go into the Department of Health. I am going to start. The most important thing that is important for everyone to understand: the Department of Health is our friend. I will say that because they are. The DOH, their main primary focus is to ensure that what we are preparing is safe. That we are going along the protocol that's necessary to produce safe products and food. They want to see us in business. That is the important thing. I've experienced a lot of people having the misconception like, oh no, they're coming. No, they're coming because they want to make sure that what we're doing is safe, because people are consuming what we're preparing. And so that is really important to know. Doing your homework. There are requirements for us to have food businesses. There are requirements to have the food hub. There are requirements to be able to go to the farmer's market or sell your products online or in a store. They have a help desk. You can actually physically go in there and ask anything. They are fantastic. They have all the answers. If they don't have them right there, they will respond to you and give them to you. They're very accessible. Some people, it may take them a bit of time, but they will get back to you, and they are very thorough. So I did not necessarily see that at the beginning. I thought they were against me because they were trying to educate me on the fact that a lot of my clients are high risk, and why there were certain requirements for me to follow. It wasn't that they didn't want me to be in business. They wanted my business to be safe. So that is something, different inspectors have different jurisdictions, meaning if you were working out of a kitchen and you needed a special event permit, I would need to sign it, but that signature isn't enough. It then needs to go to the Department of Health for them to do the final approval. So different inspectors have different jurisdictions. For instance, Maku'u, if someone was doing Maku'u Market, they might have a different inspector than we have here signing off a special event permit. So that's something that will kind of, you'll gather as things move along. Sorry, I'm just checking it out. Okay, there are two types of permits that are required by the Department of Health. Special event permit, farmers markets, a wedding, you're at a hotel doing a holiday event, a school, this and that. That would be a special event permit. What is required with your special event permit? That is typically when you are not required to have the green placard. You have been approved to sell your product, make your product on site, or sample your product. That is if you are sampling anything that is not already packaged at an event or something. Like, for instance, I do samples of my product, even though it's stable, I'm opening it and handing samples of it to people. Due to that process, I'm required to have a special event permit. If it were not, if you were required to use a kitchen or didn't need the green placard, if you were bringing your product to an event and handing samples that were already pre-packaged, either if it was allowed at home or here in the kitchen, you would not need that special event permit. Again, you will need it if you are preparing food on site at an event, or if you are handing out samples and handling them from opening a package and handing out samples from that package, or pouring or whatnot. So those are required. The thing about the special event permits is you can do more than one event at a location on that permit. So if you can have 10 on that in the month or whatnot, and it will vary. Prices will vary as to how many events, how many times you're going to be attending that particular location for your event.
And we'll get into the specifics of both of these types of permits, but the important thing to understand right now is that any time that you are serving food to the public, it requires some type of food establishment permit from the Department of Health, whether it's the special event permit or if you get the green placard with the full food establishment permit.
And the green placard is something that you're required to do if you are a food manufacturer, a restaurant, food truck, if you're preparing something that is packaged and sold wholesale. And it is required to have, you would be required to have a green placard unless it falls in the cottage.
The homemade food rules.
The homemade food rules.
We'll get into those later, but you're serving food to the public, you're going to need a permit. Yeah, question.
Your crops or fruit or something, like you're cutting something open and you're passing out slices.
Absolutely.
Counts as serving.
Yep, you're serving food to the public. Yeah.
Do you know offhand what the max is? Like if you were at a farmer's market on a weekly basis every Sunday throughout the year, is it 10 dates you can put on that permit, or how does that work? Is it like
we're actually going to pull up the
renewal?
permit here right after this slide, so we will cover that. Great question.
Okay, so with the special event permit, your requirements are going to be a booth drawing, which would give them a kind of a diagram of what your booth looked like, where your hand washing station is located, how your placement is. Hand washing station, there are a ton of different things that you can use. You can use a water jug. It does need to have a spout where you can wash with hands free. You can get water jug. They have freestanding ones, even at Walmart you can get where you push it. You must have a station where it shows that you can physically wash your hands. And fee. The fee, as Anthony mentioned, you would need to do a fee based on how many days you have, and it's location specific. So meaning if you were at one market and then you were at a holiday event at a different one, they would require different permits. You cannot put you can have multiples of the same location on one, but if you have five different events that month at 5 different locations, you would need to have 5 different permits. And you must have a food handler certification. You must have been able to have done that. They're online. I think we'll get into that in a little bit. Mm-hmm. That's a requirement for you at the booth.
And then again, this is language directly from the special event food establishment permit instructions. So if you're like, oh, do I really need one? Again, a special event is a planned activity where food is distributed to the public with or without charge at a public or privately owned property. This may include a sporting event, carnival, farmers market, religious organization function, fairs, other similar gatherings. So, does everybody who serves food to the public get a special event permit? No. We all know that is not the case. But we're not talking about like, oh, how do I get around the rules? That's not what this workshop is about. We're talking about what are the rules? How do I meet these expectations, right? So here's the actual permit. And Jill, your question was how many days can I list, right, on the permit? So on the actual sheet here, yeah, there's 31 spaces, but you can actually add an additional piece of paper. So there's no limit to the number of dates that you can list on one single permit. Like if you're going to set up and sell every single day of the year, you can list every single day of the year on an attached piece of paper. And the cost, so it starts at, what'd we say, Megan? $50 if you list one day. That one day permit is going to cost you $50. And then it goes down the more days you list, up to 20 days or more. Then it costs $5 a day. Does that make sense? Megan, you can talk about the rest of the.
The special event permit and how I am dealing with it as the manager of the Hilo Food Hub, our producers are required for me to sign them off on that. So they present that to me. They need a signature from the certified kitchen, the support kitchen manager, and then that is then submitted to the health department. So the people that we're working with here are required to have a support kitchen to be able to provide their special event permit to the DOH. I have people that call me and say, I have a special event permit. Can you sign it? And they're not a member of the Hilo Food Hub. I cannot do that. So sorry. Following the rules.
Yeah, question.
Would that be for products that are solely required to be made in a commercial kitchen? That it needs that signature by a manager or like?
So this is a good question. And I know where you're coming from too, right? Because you're making homemade food.
Yeah.
Right. So the question is,
at home.
If I want to serve my homemade food,
do
I need a special event permit
at a market?
When the answer is
to get this, but do I need more than just the inspector to sign off on it?
Well, so the answer is if you're serving food to the public, you will need a special event permit. And with that comes needing a commercial kitchen. You can't get a special event permit without having a commercial kitchen or support kitchen. So
at a farmer's market, you have to prepare it in a commercial kitchen.
You don't have to prepare the samples in the commercial kitchen if it's a homemade food rule and you're exempt from Department of Health rules for homemade food. But if you're serving the food and you're like using any utensils, what the Department of Health will tell you is that you need to then wash those utensils in a 3-compartment sink at a commercial kitchen, which sounds a little silly. I understand. The new homemade food rules have made it a little bit more confusing and maybe a little bit more silly sounding, but that is the rule. Does that answer your question? I was going to say make sense, but does that answer your question?
Yeah, so you're saying if you are preparing exempt products that you can get a special event permit? No, I'm not really understanding.
So ask your question again.
So in my case specifically, we're making value-added products, baked goods that do not require refrigeration, are shelf-stable. And if we were to do a farmer's market and I was selling these same products at the market, could I take one of them out of the bag and serve it with toothpicks Or could I even get a special event permit to do that?
So you wouldn't be
market.
able, my understanding is you wouldn't be able to get a special event permit without a support kitchen.
Yes.
The question of, are you required to have a special event permit if you're serving your homemade food? If you ask the Department of Health, they're going to say, if you are serving the food to the public and providing samples,
That's it.
then you will need a special event
But if
permit.
I'm just selling them packaged, unopened, then we're good.
If you are selling them packaged and unopened and not doing samples, you do not need a special event permit. The special event permit primarily is if you are opening up a package and
Yeah.
distributing samples or something. So you're
Okay.
good.
Thank you.
No,
Thanks for
no
clarifying
samples.
Yeah,
so much.
that's a great question, and it's really specific and can be confusing. So I'm glad we knocked that out. Anything else from the permit application? Oh no, that was in the last one. So you have to list the food that you're going to be serving, right?
Oh, yes. So what you would do is put the information, the food listed, and then there is going to be a little information asking what you do at the support kitchen. And then there's a question, the ones on the right, the one on the left is basic, where your event is, the address, the information like that, just standard. The second sheet is going to ask you about, are you in a tent? Are you using, what you're using, those kind of details. And then the bottom one, site plan, excuse me, that's where you're required to do a diagram of a photo, not a photo, I'm sorry, a drawing of what your setup looks like. It can be very basic, just saying hand washing sink, table, this, that. Mine has a stick figure with me on it. I was in a hurry and I'm not joking. So the main thing is that, and then once you do it once and you have your final setup, you just save that sheet and you can go ahead and reprint it. It becomes second nature, all these things. So the one important thing I will say really quick is that it is important to remember too, that you need to give time. So you cannot bring this into the health department if these are required the day before, assuming that they're going to say, no problem, we're going to let you have that. It typically will take them a week or more to be able to issue that. The good news is that they can send it to you via email, that permit, and it is required to be posted up at your event.
We get a question from the chat from Momoka. For special event permits, how about company-wide party or event inside the office or outside the office? Let's say we make food that contains our secret ingredient and serve it as samples. Do we need a permit or a food handler certification? Or is it different if it's only company employees or if there's clients involved? What do you think, Megan?
Okay, I'm gonna say, and this is my thought, that if it's not for sale and you're at a company event,
what do you do when you don't know for sure?
you go to the health department and ask the helpers at the front desk.
So it's a great question. I will again read this sentence. A planned activity where food is distributed to the public with or without charge at a public or privately owned property. This may include a sporting event, carnival, farmers market, religious organization function, fairs, or other similar gatherings. So the question, I imagine if you ask the Department of Health, they will probably say yes.
Also, you can call them.
Oh, there is the drawing.
Oh, look at that. There's, as you can see, somebody might have been in a hurry. This was acceptable. There's the hand washing sink, as you can see to the right.
Labeled.
And there I am holding the bottle of juice to be given as samples. That was acceptable. Some people have don't judge me for this. This was something I was in a hurry and realized I had to get something in very quickly. And it did give them a chuckle. So
yeah, the point is like you don't have to, have a master's degree to fill out a special event permit application. You don't have to be Picasso. Actually, Picasso would probably love that drawing.
Thank you.
So let's move on to the main food establishment permit. And Megan, I will be right back. Take it away.
Great. Okay, so let's go in here. I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses on. Okay, so a food establishment permit, if you need that pass, the green pass, what's going to happen is you would need to be attached to a support kitchen. So our requirements would be that you would need to provide to the health department a support kitchen use agreement, which is, we'll get into what that means later, but that's just saying that you have provided all of the information needed from us at, I'm going to say the Hilo Food Hub, since we're here, from us at the Hilo Food Hub to become a member. That information would be done, and we would be providing you with a support use agreement, signed document that you would be providing to the health department. The health department has a fee based on risk level. So it goes from risk if you're juice, fish, poultry, this, and it kind of goes down the line to you're doing fruit, jams, whatever is required on that. There's going to be an assessment that they're going to get. And on the back of that form, which I believe Anthony has on one of the slides, you'll see the risk level and what that means. It's not like $5,000. It could be $100. It could be $50. So there's a different risk level involved with the paperwork they're dealing with. Letter of intent and process flow. That's something that you would be providing to the health department and on record, your own records as well, which is what your product is, what you're doing, and how you're making it, how you're packaging it, how you're serving it. So if the health department were coming here, you would be providing a document. You can write it out, a paragraph, whatnot, which is going to tell them, hi, I'll say for me, my name is Megan. I'm making elixir. I'm making honey. This is how I'm doing it. I'm using jars. We're pouring into the jars. This is the equipment we're using. You are required by law to have labels. Your labels do have to have the net weight on them. There are certain specifications. There are, I believe, do we have links to that? It's on, so we'll have links to that, which gets into what we're required to do on the label, what's in the package, the net weight, ingredients. You are not required to have nutrition facts on a label. Unless there are many different reasons as to the unlesses why you would be required. But starting out, the basics are they're going to have to approve your label. So we are going to give you a link that's going to give you very specific instructions as to what those protocols would be. You must have a food handler certification. You can get those online, $9. You can go on to, or if you're not in Hawaii, food handler certification online. Watch a 15-minute video. You answer the questions, which will go over food safety, temperatures, hand washing, the whole thing. Answer the questions. You can have your food handler certification printed off immediately. I do recommend having people that work with you do that. If you were in a support kitchen and you weren't able to be here, anyone on your team would be able to be here without you if they are over 18 and have that certification. Then it gets into HACCP plans. Are you required to have a HACCP plan? Is your product at risk? Does it need to be stabilized? All of those questions. I am required to have one for me. Not everybody is. That's a different risk level and a different form of production. Exactly. Mobile food permit, mobile food establishment permit, all of those all have additional requirements. So the thing that's where it gets a little tricky is that I make my product and that's one thing, but you may have a different completely different thing when you're making jam. If you're making, kimchi, if you're making this, all of us are going to have something different. And the main thing is that these are the food establishment permits that are given out by the health department. We here at the support kitchen are a support kitchen. That's our job. We do not give out any of these permits. That is entirely between you and your business and the health department. Important to note, because some people do come here thinking that we might be the ones that can make changes or do things, and we don't have that.
Right. And we'll give them like these requirements. This is what the Department of Health requires. And they'll say, oh, here's the stuff that you said. And we're like, no, this isn't for us. This isn't for the Hilo Food Hub. These are the requirements for the Department of Health that you need to have along with this actual food establishment permit application.
And this is what I was talking about, where it's going to show you the categories on.
Yep.
Categories on the back. Sorry, I don't have my glasses on.
So it initially is kind of the same as the special event. You just have to list your personal information, business name, address, phone number, yada, yada, yada. Instead of Megan as the support kitchen manager, instead of her signing this permit directly, there's an additional support kitchen use agreement that is signed. And then again, this is the same permit application for any of these categories, right? So the special event permit is separate. That's location specific. It does not require an inspection. If you need to get a green placard, whether you are a hotel that has a kitchen, a restaurant, a food truck, or you're manufacturing a value-added product in a commercial kitchen, it's all the same green placard. It's all the same application form. And then based on your risk level, it will determine how much this permit costs. And this is an annual fee. It goes from 100. Does that say 400 up here? Oh, catering. Catering's a little bit more expensive. So it's usually 100, 200, or 300.
I did learn something interesting yesterday. I don't know why I didn't realize this, but on the mainland where they have A, B, C, like you'll see a restaurant with that in the window. We just have one that says pass. So
Or
that
fail.
is why it was that. For some reason, I did not register. I thought it was almost like the quality of the restaurant. I'm just being honest. Anyways.
So here's all of the documents. Again, this slideshow will be made available on the website, HawaiiCommercialKitchens.com. And all of the previous ones are already up there, so check those out. And you'll be able to get these links directly to these documents, which are all on the Department of Health website. Some people have a hard time navigating that site. Yeah, so in summary, Megan, take it away.
Okay, well, we kind of went over the top part already. So food establishment permit requirements, which we did, support kitchen use agreement, letter of intent, process flow, label, food handler certification. At the Hilo Food Hub, if you were coming in to become a member here, what we would require is a copy of your general excise tax license that you are a registered business in the state of Hawaii. A general liability insurance, that is, I use a particular insurance company. It can go up. You can raise the, there's a specific one that I use that deals solely with food. It is about $289 yearly. I pay a little more. I have a different, I've upped my insurance. The security deposit for the Hilo Food Hub is $200, which is refundable. We do refund. We have which is separate than our plans. Plan A, we have a minimum of 10 hours a month is our plan A, which is $200 a month. So our fee to utilize the kitchen here at the Hilo Food Hub is $20 an hour. which is fantastic. And I am a member of the Hilo Food Hub because not only have I grown here, but it's affordable to me to expand my company here. Those plans go up all the way from plan A to B to C. So the more you utilize in the kitchen, we have some members that sometimes are doing 40, 50 hours, 60 hours. When we're in production, we're doing that much in a month. And so as you grow or need more hours, the actual hourly cost goes down to the different plans, as well as there's an option of if you are doing an event, let's say next month, and you know you're going to be in the kitchen more, we can change that plan if we know ahead of time for that time needed. So if the next month you're like, well, I really need 25 hours, then we can go ahead and modify that and switch you back. So that's something that is beneficial, has been beneficial to me.
So, and again, just in summary, this is a list of basically what you will need in order to get your food establishment permit from the Department of Health if you're using the Hilo Food Hub as your support kitchen. And this is about what it'll cost. And again, your permit application will cost probably $100, $200, or $300 based on the risk level of your product.
Okay. So points to consider. Changing recipes or process flow. Am I focused on this being a HACCP?
Yeah, so if you need a HACCP plan, and we'll get into the specifics of HACCP at the end, but basically just consider a HACCP plan as a letter of intent and process flow with a PhD. Mm-hmm. So everybody needs a letter of intent and process flow. If you have a higher risk product, you're going to need a HACCP plan. So this is just a couple points on if you need to change things.
Yep. So changing recipes or process flow, you can, if you have a HACCP plan, you can submit that to, if you had someone help you, you can do that, or you can actually write it in if it's something that you've done on your own and submit that. So that means if, for instance, I've changed a recipe, I've modified a recipe, we've added more of this, taken some of that out, it's been written into the process flow. If I am using new equipment, I bought new equipment, I have 3 pieces of new equipment that has been submitted to the DOH, to the Department of Health. Very, very important to know that if you are utilizing a support kitchen and you do have a pass, it is very important to remember that approval of equipment, especially if you're looking into getting some equipment that is somewhat costly, that it be approved. There are some things that require motors. Some of those motors can't be used in a kitchen. Some things have required different types of fuel, what not. You want to make sure to kind of submit. And again, that's where it's like the health department are our friends. Submitting and saying, hey, I'm thinking of this equipment. Although, for instance, for me, my juicer weighs over 800 pounds and it's on casters. So I got approval to be able to wash it outside, wheel it back in and sanitize it inside, because there's no way we can't lift it into sinks. So things like that, I was able to work with the Department of Health to establish a protocol that was going to work for us. It's easy to, it's an easy modification to submit changes. Once you have an established HACCP plan, for instance, that I'm required, if someone were required to have that, what you can do is you can add another product on. You can add things into that existing documentation that you have. So once it's done, it's actually very easy to be able to make changes. And that's where you have all of the details of your company and your recipes are in there because they require specifics. When you have a HACCP, you have to put in exactly how you're making it, what's involved, what are the ingredients and everything. And that's what the Department of Health does have. They do have that information. Although, again, it's super easy to be able to make any modifications.
And again, based on your product specifically, and this is if you need to have a HACCP plan, you may be required to do shelf stability testing.
Yes. And that is something to prepare for. The pH testing, so there's some testing that's fairly basic, I would say, in the grand scheme of things, where you're doing pH testing, water testing. Those are pretty much required across the board if you're going to make a product that's requiring a pass, that placard. I, on the other hand, have gone to where we did shelf stability testing. And so testing can get more and more and more advanced. If you want to know how long your product is going to be stable on a shelf, they don't tell you that. You are required to have it tested to find out. And so there were a lot of things I thought the health department just did because they were the health department. I didn't realize that they were outsourcing. Although we have the Wahiawa facility on Oahu, they provide lab testing. We have people that are available that we can, if it's a simple water testing, there's, I believe you can have that done at the health department as well. So it just kind of goes on the more you're doing, but it is an expense. And so that's something to take into account. Oh,
If you're making changes or modifications to your HACCP plan, does that impact then having to update or reapply your food establishment permits? And those last for how long before you have to renew them or like?
Yeah, so the Department of Health will be the ones that dictate whether or not you need a HACCP plan, and then they'll have your HACCP plan on file. And whether you write your own HACCP plan or you have a professional who's written it, and it needs to be updated because you change your recipe or get new equipment, you can just update that and then send it to the Department of Health, and they'll very likely say, okay, received, no change needed. Yeah. If for some reason the changes that you make increase your risk level, then they might say, okay, you're going to have to pay us another $100 a year. And it, I guess there's a chance, depending on how drastic the changes are, that they'll say, okay, we need to do a new inspection. But usually it's a very straightforward, simple process. You just update it and say, yep, this is the new thing. And they say, okay. Yeah, moving on to scaling.
Fun. Scaling. We're in the process of doing that right now. Some important points here with scaling. One of the things that is very important to be prepared for is the financing involved with scaling. Everything, as you scale, the cost of goods goes down, yet, I was in a position for a long time where I was ordering a few, like say 20 cases of bottles because that's what I could afford to pay for at the time. Although if I bought 500 cases of bottles, it was actually only triple what I was paying. It just, so as you're, I don't know if that made sense as I stopped myself from saying that. So basically for me now, the financing that's so important is because if I buy a pallet of bottles, that pallet is actually per item way lower than what it would be if I were buying it by the case. So it's having that capital to be able to do certain things to bring it down. One of the things that's been beneficial on the island is I have been able to network with people because I do use glass. And so when I've had things shipped in, I've been able to say to other people using glass, hey, I'm going to order this pallet. Who's in? It doesn't always work that way, although I'm trying. Sourcing and suppliers, really establishing a relationship with where you're sourcing and suppliers. Again, with the bottles, we're ordering larger amounts of bottles, different things down to labels, boxes. We package things. So all of those things in in scaling for the business is planning ahead. Like we're getting ready to do a big run. I just realized, oh no, our boxes are almost down. We're in glass. We ship in glass. Our boxes are actually custom because do I invest in the box or do I invest in a ton of extra packing to make sure that so all of those details start becoming very important as you scale to figure out how do I maximize my time with packaging? What am I using? How does that work? So sourcing suppliers, preparation, which is not on there, which is as we're scaling, there's a lot more planning involved. There's more planning with our farmers. We're having to give them enough lead time to produce, to have things washed, to have things brought. We have cold storage, which we rent. They have to be prepared to know that we're coming in. We also fly things. And so some of our pallets for our product that's produced on the mainland for mainland sales, that is being frozen and shipped. And so we aren't filling containers yet of cold storage. So they have to fly. Pallets are flying on a plane. All of that is very important because when you establish relationships with your suppliers and how you're sourcing it, it becomes more organized. Once you have that formula can then change and expand as you're going along. Storage, huge. I love the Hilo Food Hub. They're never going to get rid of me. I store here also. We store by the square footage. Just kidding. Hi, Emily. We provide storage by the square footage here. And for me, that's golden. Because as I'm growing and scaling, I need more room to store things. For instance, for our next run, we had to order a pallet of buckets. They needed to be food grade. They weren't here readily available on island. I had to bring them in. And so for me to do that, I need to store that pallet somewhere. I'm not at the position of having my own warehouse, but when I can afford square footage, that's helped me to be able to expand and also expand here by utilizing the kitchen space, because as more people are using the kitchen and coming in, you may not just need a little shelf here in the fridge or the freezer. You might need to bring your own fridge or freezer. You might need to bring your own shelving unit as opposed to renting a shelf space. So having the opportunity to expand and move around is great. And here, I will label things or package things out in the warehouse because then I'm not in the kitchen utilizing the hourly time in the kitchen. I'm able to be here and utilize the facility that's available to the producers. Preparing for help, huge. Help is important. And as I have grown, what I have realized is that my time is incredibly valuable. And there's a season that I went through where I didn't even know what help I needed. Because I've gotten so acclimated to doing so many things on my own, it's hard to learn how to delegate. How do you know what to ask for when it's easier to do it yourself? Because it's all living in your mind. Well, there's a point that I'm hitting right now where I need some of this to not live in my mind anymore. I need help and support, and I'm finally figuring out how to ask for it, how to figure out how to budget for it, because I'm still not at a position where I am able to hire someone 40 hours a week. So how do you find that help? How do you figure out getting creative? Like maybe someone's semi-retired, maybe someone's in school, maybe, there's all these different ways that I've gotten creative with it. Although just to me, hiring is key. You may have a product that someone likes. Bartering. I've bartered a lot of help that I receive because I have some people that really have benefited from the products that I make, and therefore I've been able to work that out. But as things grow, it's important to really create that foundation of finding the right people that you work well with that can grow with you. So I'm at the season of hiring, and that's great. Prepping for success. Things take time. I feel like that is something that kind of correlates with financing and having yourself available, knowing that you might have a little bit of a nest egg, might look into a slight loan or something to have a little bit of capital to realize that to get started and really get yourself out there with your business, it takes time. It takes samples, free things, giving it out, demos, all those things take time and money, because it's not like we're readily just getting a paycheck that's paying for all these things. So for me, slow and steady is winning the race right now. If I grew too big, I don't think I could handle the caliber of that. And so I'm realizing that having a steady foundation and taking the time to really take all the steps and do them right is very important. Planning right in the middle of what's happening right now. We have had to plan for this production like you would not believe, down to going to cold storage, talking to the people, calling the airlines, what truck is picking it up, where's the glass, what's happening. But now we have a formula. So I have a formula to know what we're looking ahead for. So now we can prepare for it. We know who we're sourcing from. We know who's driving the truck, who's at cold storage, who's wrapping the pallet, who's showing up. The kitchen's available. We've booked it out. So that is preparation. Mentally as well. I know next week's going to be a big week. And so I'm doing my best to take all of Sunday off. I need a day to prepare for that coming up, and also preparing in the sense of not just physically and financially, but emotionally. Preparing and remembering these are seasons that we're in, and each season of growth comes with learning and also comes with some frustration and all of the things that happen. Learning is huge. There are so many opportunities that we have online, in person, everywhere. Wahiwa facility, Ho'ola, the Ulu co-op, Farm Links,
Go Farm,
who's
the Food Basket,
Onamea, the everyone. If I'm not naming you, I know you're there, because all these people are providing educational opportunities to learn. There is the business development department. They are teaching business classes. There are anything you can learn. I have learned so many things from showing up and just listening and networking and hearing, taking notes, talking. But some of these courses that are available from, I've learned so many things too. I'm getting ready to take a course, or I'm trying to sign up for it at Wahiwa. It's fantastic. Just because I have a business and it's scaling doesn't mean I don't have a business and I need to learn. Every new thing I do is like having a new business within a business. And so for me, where I'm really benefiting is how much education is available at no cost or low cost. Thank you. Having a strong foundation, huge. What is my role? What is everybody else's role? Having a role, being that role. It's taken me a while to understand that I do have a role with this business, and to make the decision that it is a business. I have the opportunity, when available, to do samples and to be able to share my product with some of those that might be compromised financially. I work with some people in recovery. There are different avenues that I am able to work with. Although I've had to come to the reality too that I am a business owner. And this is a business. I have a business where I have a moral compass, and I'm glad that I get to do good things and provide a product, but that's my role, as I am the business owner. And it's important for me to have that leadership when I'm working with others, especially when they're working with me. Time. Our time is precious and valuable, and we can maximize our time and organize our time and give ourselves time. That's the most important thing for me, is that really being able to delegate time. Sometimes, I'm not doing a lot of social things, but I do give myself the grace to go to sleep early, wake up early, take the time to do certain things. I'll work on Sundays, and people are like, why are you working on Sundays? Because I take the time to package orders. I don't like to rush that much. It stresses me out. So if I can give myself a little more time to do certain tasks, it doesn't mean that, oh, you're working 7 days a week. No, actually, that day of leisurely listening to music or doing my thing and just thoughtfully doing something is actually giving myself the opportunity to be more successful because I'm lowering my stress level. And working with others. You know, I have the opportunity, especially not only with just Uproot, but working with Ho'ola, you know, working with Farm to Car, working with other food hubs, all of those things. I have been able to network, which has built my business, which has built the foundation that I have here as the manager at the Hilo Food Hub, which has given me the opportunity to expand not only my business, but the opportunities that we're able to offer to people here because we work with others. I am not in competition with people. I work with people. One of the things that makes some of what I do successful or more successful is that I also really believe in promoting other businesses. I'm not trying to, I love other juice businesses. I get their shots. I go to the farmer's market. I pick up my stuff. I love it. I'm not here to compete with people. I'm here to do my best to work with as many different people as I can and to promote them as well. And I think that as a business, walking into things like that, it can really open a lot of doors of just, we're all here together.
Questions for Megan? If something pops up, feel free to put it in the chat and we'll get back to it. I know that Megan would love to share her newest product. Yeah, with folks.
Oh.
The apple.
Really enjoyed hearing you talk about scaling up, and it reminded me of I've been listening to a lot of farming podcasts lately, and one of the things I keep hearing them talk about on all these different podcasts is like creating systems and putting your systems in place as a business, and that's kind of resonated along those lines. Is, you know, you're kind of figuring it out as you go to a certain extent, but once you figure out what works, it's important to kind of like set those standards in place so that you are becoming as efficient as you can in a way.
Thank you. Definitely. And it also helps too, because, you know, the other thing too is one of the things that's really important for me to promote is working with other people, working with other farmers, promoting small farms, promoting sustainability. I work with people here. I also work with people on the mainland. And so, as Anthony was mentioning, we came up with a new product this year, which is we have made our elixir, which is one of our main base products, the turmeric ginger, which is grown here. And I'm a big supporter of promoting Hawaii grown. In fact, I've brought it to some powers that be, and I'm like, I'd like to see a sticker that says Hawaii grown on it as well, because there's a lot of Hawaii made or this or that, although Hawaii grown is also important. That being said, we have farmers that we access our apple cider vinegar from in West Sonoma County in Northern California, and they're small farms over there as well. And we wouldn't have our product. It wouldn't be the entire recipe without being able to source the apple cider vinegar from the mainland. And so I was able to connect with our farmers there they're amazing people. And they were able to press some apples this year for us and turn it into their heirloom organic apple juice that they produce, and also they do outsource to make the vinegar that we use. That being said, we added our Uproot elixir to that apple juice to make a seasonal spiced apple cider, because I'm like, wait, they don't really like, we're sending over the elixir there and we're promoting the Hawaii grown, and then let's bring the apple juice in together. And so since it's seasonal and it's amazing and it's yummy, and it was just, that is a perfect example of trying to create a value-added product from a value-added product from a value-added product. Just like our honey blend is, we dehydrate all of the ginger and turmeric powder, our pulp. We don't run it dry. So our pulp is then turned into another product, which is, it's dehydrated, we mill it, and that is turned into the ginger and turmeric powder that we use in our honey blend paste, and also to some other producers on island that utilize that for their products,
Like the
and
toffee.
Samanda. And then from there, it even goes a step further, which is all of the ginger, all of the fiber from the ginger after milling it is actually then donated to Ika'ua Farms, and they do vermiculture. And so that milled fiber is utilized to pack in with the composting worms, and they're actually sustained. It helps to sustain them even longer, that milled fiber. So for us, it's also working with others to promote as much, utilizing everything we can from what we have. You know, I would love to be all 100% recyclable. I can't even get recyclable hemp lids or not unless I buy 50,000 of them. So we're on the way, slowly but surely, but we're getting there.
Yeah. So, Megan, if you want to set up the spritzers, I'll run through all the homemade food rules and HACCP plan stuff. And then at the end, I'll go ahead and rotate the camera so we can capture your setup.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Megan.
Thanks,
You can come out this
Anthony.
way if you want. Okay, homemade food rules, a hot button issue. Many folks have had questions and are confused about what the rules are and what they can do. So to make everything as clear as possible, I have taken screenshots directly from the Hawaii administrative rules, the actual law. All of these next slides are direct screenshots from the law. Specifically, Title 11, Department of Health, Chapter 50, the Food Safety Code. So the first thing that changed is the actual definition. If you're making a homemade food product. So the home kitchen means a kitchen designed and intended for use by the residents of a home, not a commercial kitchen. Homemade food products means not time or temperature controlled for safety food products or packaged in a home kitchen that does not include dried meats or seafood. And also foods of plant origin that are pickled, fermented, or acidified, except for cantaloupes and other fruits from the melon family that are produced or packaged in a home kitchen that have a pH of equal to or less than 4.2, or a water activity, that AW is water activity value, that is less than 0.88, provided that any homemade food product containing cut tomatoes, such as salsa, must be refrigerated at or below 41 degrees Fahrenheit. That is the new definition of homemade food rules. Crystal clear, so there's no confusion. Wait, why does everybody look confused? Oh, because the sentence is incredibly confusing. So we can take some time and dissect the sentence, which does indeed have a paradox in it. Right? So good catch on that. So let's start with the first part. Not time temperature controlled for safety food produced or packaged in a home kitchen that does not include dried meats or seafood. So dried meats or seafood, You can't do it at home. All right. And it cannot be time or temperature controlled for safety. Now, that doesn't mean that it cannot be refrigerated, but if it has to be refrigerated for safety, you can't do it at home. Okay. This is another part that changed, right? Previously, pickled, fermented, or acidified foods were considered high risk and had to be done in a commercial kitchen. But now those have been added to things you can do at home. So you can make pickles. You can make sauerkraut. You can make acidified products. That means like you can make jams or jellies that you are adding lemon juice or citric acid to. But if it has cantaloupes or melon, you can't do it. Now, you're allowed to do those things if they have a pH of equal to or less than 4.2 or a water activity of less than 0.88. Now, if you are a member of the Hawai'i Commercial Kitchens program, we can pay for professional pH and water activity testing. However, if you are claiming homemade food rules, then you are exempt from Department of Health rules. This is an exemption. So the question is, well, what are the testing requirements here, and who do I turn them into? You don't technically have to turn them in to anyone. And you don't have to have them professionally tested. You can do the tests yourself with an at-home kit or pH meter or pH paper. It is highly recommended that you document and keep records of all of your testing. Yeah, so the question was, the pH strips are notoriously inaccurate, and you can get pH meters online for relatively cheap. That is correct. Now, the last part is the confusing part. Provided that any homemade food product containing cut tomatoes, such as salsa, must be kept refrigerated at or below 41 degrees Fahrenheit, which means it's being temperature controlled for safety. So the one exception, which is written into this rule, is that if you're using cut tomatoes, then you not only can temperature control your product for safety, you have to temperature control your product for safety. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, Jill. Go ahead.
That was one thing that Peter and I found was a little confusing with the fermentation stuff, because typically when you're making a fermented vegetable, once it reaches that 4.2, or, you know, the taste that you are looking for, or the sourness you're looking for, you do want to put it in the refrigerator to get the fermentation to slow down.
Right.
So that is something that's allowed then, because I thought
so as long as your fermented product meets the pH requirements, then it is pH controlled for safety. Then you can refrigerate it for quality. So you're not temperature controlling your sauerkraut for safety, you're temperature controlling it for quality. And so it doesn't explode, which is kind of safety. But yeah, it'll decrease the quality if it explodes. Any questions about this definition? Any more questions? Okay, so homemade food products and hand-pounded poi. It's a special edition. Any person who operates a food establishment that produces or packages only homemade food products in a home kitchen or only produces hand-pounded poi shall be exempt from the provisions of this chapter, except that they will remain subject to the inspection in accordance with Section 1158 and the provisions of Sections 1150.10, 1150.11, 1150.14, and shall adhere to the following special conditions, violations of which shall constitute violations of this chapter. I was going to be a lawyer in another life. Number 1, obtain your food safety certification in accordance with Section 115020. Food safety certification. So that's your food handler's certification. Same requirement as if you need to get your food establishment permit. You do need to get a food safety certification. Ensure that a hand washing sink with appropriate cleaning compound is available at all times during food preparation activities and is used to maintain cleanliness pursuant to Section 115022B and C. And finally, number 3, label all food in accordance with the requirements of Section 115035C, the homemade food rule labeling requirements, which are less strenuous than the commercial kitchen labeling requirements. Number 4, this is another big change that happened. You are now allowed to distribute homemade food products. Before, it was only direct to the consumer, whether in person or remotely. Now, including by telephone or the internet, that has been added. In addition, you can do an agent of the homemade food operator or a third-party vendor, such as a food establishment. So like Hawai'i Farm to Car, right? Now you're able to sell your homemade food products to a third party, which is wholesale. Or C, delivered to the consumer by the homemade food operator, an agent of the homemade food operator, or a third-party vendor, such as a food establishment, by mail or shipping. So this has really opened up the rules for homemade food operators to distribute their product to pretty much anybody. And 5, distribute hand-pounded poi only directly to the consumer. Hand-pounded poi has its own special rules. Okay, so here's the labeling requirements. Homemade food products shall bear a label with the following information. A statement that reads, made in a home kitchen, not routinely inspected by the Department of Health. You have to have the common name of the food, or if no common name exists, an adequately descriptive identity statement. C, if made from 2 or more ingredients, you have to list all of the ingredients and sub-ingredients in descending order of predominance by weight. So the number 1 ingredient first. D, notification of the presence of major food allergens. So if there are one of the, I think it's 9 allergens, you need to make sure you are listing that. And finally, you need to have your name and contact information of the homemade food product producer. That is the homemade food rules. Question about, are you just taking a picture? All right. So moving on to the completely other end of the spectrum, which is HACCP plans. And the reason I say that is because homemade food rules has the least amount of rules. If you get a food establishment permit in a commercial kitchen, then you have to meet all of the food safety rules. And if you have a high-risk product, then they will require you to have a HACCP plan, which again stands for Hazard Analysis and Critical Control Points. This need, again, is determined by your Department of Health inspector. It requires a lot more paperwork, a lot of record keeping as well. You need to understand the laws and regulations for your specific product. Hawai'i Commercial Kitchens has John Nakashima in Hilo available on island to help determine your classification and handles all the technical forms needed to submit to the health department. You do not need somebody else to write your HACCP plan for you. You are able to write the HACCP plan yourself. If you're a technical writer, it's probably going to be pretty easy. If you're not, it'll be more difficult. But in this modern era of the internet and artificial intelligence, you can do a lot. And if the Department of Health tells you that it's not good enough, they'll tell you exactly why it's not good enough and what you need to change, and then you change it and then you resubmit. So some people hit the point where the DOH says you need a HACCP plan, and then they're like, oh no, how do I do it? Or I can't. Oh no. But it doesn't have to be that hard. And you can get a HACCP plan. If you do end up needing to pay for one, I believe John Nakashima charges $500 to start. And usually that's enough for a simple product. Oh, I was like, is that on the Zoom? So what products require HACCP plans? That's usually a question people have. So fermentation, acidification, jarring and canning, drying, curing, smoking, other specialized processes, sous vide, vacuum sealing or reduced oxygen packaging of perishable food items outside of raw meats or items to be frozen, and non-continuous cook chill processes. These will all require HACCP plans. Juice wholesalers are required by the FDA to have a HACCP plan. Any wholesale juice product is required to be processed under a juice HACCP plan and have some manner of pasteurization, whether that's heat, which is what Uproot Origin does, or pressure pasteurized, or a chlorine sanitizer, exterior rind, scrub, and soak for highly acidic citrus juices. Yeah, Jill.
Hi, so you just mentioned that fermentation needs a HACCP plan, but is that in the case if it's made in a commercial kitchen?
That is correct.
Okay.
Under the new homemade food rules, you can make a fermented product in your home kitchen exempt from the Department of Health rules as long as you meet the pH requirements. If you need to make that, if you want to make that same product in a commercial kitchen, it will require a HACCP plan.
Okay, that would also be for like those jams and whatnot that are shelf stable.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Thank you for clarifying.
Definitely. Marion, do you have a question?
If I sell the juice to the customer, that's a retail sale, not a wholesale. So would I need a HACCP plan?
So the question is, if you are you doing it in a commercial kitchen? Or are you trying to do it at home?
If I do it at home, then I would label it home.
Well, if you're doing it at home, you probably can't do juice because fresh juice would need to be temperature controlled for safety. Right? You could do what? You could do pie. So does that make sense? You can't do juice in a homemade,
you can't
under
do
the
lemon
homemade food
juice
rules.
or lime juice or.
It would likely need to be temperature controlled for safety, right? You can't make fresh lime juice and leave it on your counter indefinitely. So if you are going to make it in a commercial kitchen and you're making fresh juice and it needs to be refrigerated, the DOH is going to tell you that you need a HACCP plan. Now, if you want to freshly juice ingredients at a farmer's market and serve cups of fresh juice directly to the consumer, you can get away without a HACCP plan because you're operating under a special event permit and you're juicing it on site and serving it directly to the consumer. So that's one way that you wouldn't need a HACCP plan for juice. Megan.
Total curiosity. What about when you have a product and it is labeled directly on the product that this is unpasteurized, this juice has been prepared unpasteurized, all the things? How does that work?
Well, you aren't.
So is that direct to customer as well? That would be retail direct to customer stating on the label that this
So
is
you're
a
saying
product
like
that
if
is
it's at a juice bar?
correct.
If
So would
it's
that be, or not just a juice bar, like say even sometimes at the farmer's markets, you'll see juice being sold and it will have the label on it that says this is unpasteurized product.
for that specific example, I would refer you to the Department of Health.
Thanks, Anthony.
Definitely. Oh, so this one is, you saw this on the slide? Yeah. So juice sold by direct retail only, which is poured from a pitcher or juice bottled and only sold in-house, may be exempt from the HACCP and pasteurization requirement. It has to be labeled unpasteurized for retail sale only. So that's literally exactly what you asked.
Does come down. So it comes down with certain things like that to labeling, specifically in how it's being sold and distributed, period. Okay.
Correct.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So a HACCP plan is considered a variance by the Department of Health. A food code variance is basically anything that is outside of the normal rules. So if a food establishment has an operation or process that conflicts with the Hawaii Food Code, a variance is required, and a HACCP plan is typically a prerequisite to apply for a variance. So if you want to do something and the rules say you're not allowed to do it, wait a minute. Maybe you can get a variance. If you know what you're doing is safe and you're following all the proper food safety rules, but it's just kind of like the weird language of the laws says that you can't do it, you can explore the idea of getting a variance, but you're going to need a HACCP plan. So examples are out of temperature food items, or a variation of one of the specialized processes we listed, or a food item that has an inherently high risk associated with the product. Meat, I'm going to run through these pretty quick. So the wholesale operation of meat or seafood manufacturers falls under the jurisdiction of the USDA for meat and poultry and the FDA for seafood, except for small egg farms. So that's above the Hawaii Department of Health. You're not going to be able to do wholesale meat or seafood unless you get the USDA or the FDA involved. These operations are not covered by the state of Hawaii Department of Health Food Safety Branch. And both the USDA and the FDA do require a HACCP plan for their manufactured items as a prerequisite. So if you are making products with meat in them, you can get a Department of Health food establishment permit if you are only selling them direct to consumer, right? If you want to sell them in a grocery store or on farm to car, you have to go the next level up. So Lava Meats is one of the clients here at the Hilo Food Hub. Leslie of Lava Meats does all sorts of different products, and she does them direct to consumer. So you may not be required to have a HACCP plan depending on your process and use of materials. So Leslie does have a HACCP plan covering her seasoning, her curing salts. These are rabbits. Let's not go down the rabbit hole. Sprouts, seeding and growing of sprouts or beans due to the inherent risks associated with their temperature and soil growing conditions require a HACCP plan. Microgreens do not require a HACCP plan. What's the difference? A little bit of time. That's one. And yes, the way they are grown. So cultured products that require inoculation of starter culture media, bacterium, or similar, or items that also use food additives, chemicals not typically seen in a retail food establishment, those are going to require a HACCP plan. And also less common scenarios like we've all been here before. If you're operating an extended wet storage tank or depuration system for molluscan bivalve shellfish, you're going to need a HACCP plan. Don't look at me like that, Jill. Any questions on HACCP plans? All righty. That's the end of our presentation. Thank you guys for joining us. I really appreciate it. I'm going to invite you all to have a refreshing elixir spritzer and help yourself to some snacks. And I will go ahead and switch the camera over. And Megan, if you want to talk a little bit more about your product, you can hold the spatula mic, or if you want, you can clip that on.
With the camera on here?
No, you can clip the mic. You can take it off the spatula and clip it on your shirt if you want.
Okay.
Yeah, and you guys, please come on over to the Uproot Origin booth.
Here we are. Okay, gals. Well, what I'm going to be making, I'll give you a quick little rundown of, and I wanted people to see this too, Anthony, which is, so value-added products, communication, networking, working with others. I work with Amanda from Native Blends and Eco Oil Farms, who has been a huge support to me as I've grown. And so as she works with me, part of how we've established things is she's been able to utilize some of our pulp to make her own ginger and turmeric powder that she's also utilizing to make her toffee. So that's something that's kind of exciting to see happening. We do, so this is our Uproot Elixir, which is the ginger, turmeric, apple cider vinegar, honey, cinnamon, lotus pollen, lotus root. We do 3 different sizes of that, which is the 16 ounce, the 8 ounce, the 2 ounce. It's very concentrated. So a little goes a long way. One of the things that's important to me, because it's concentrated and I'm not making 50 different products, what I do is I like to recommend different ways that people can do it. So we have recipe cards. Information helps a lot. Promoting other companies. When I'm doing demos, I'll talk to another business here, or someone that's juicing oranges, or someone that's got the sparkling water or kombucha, and I'll combine that to make different recipes so that it's almost like I'm showing someone how to make a whole other beverage with our beverage. Because the main thing is that I'm able to provide what that concentrated actual beverages. So a lot of information works for people. People love information. If we're talking about not only wellness, we're talking about a business. So when it comes to, where did I put them? Oh, here we go. So for instance, when we're doing sending it to a store, doing something like that, shipping it to a client, we have the information on the back that gives the benefits that have been found by many others, not just me. This isn't a claim. This is some that people have benefited from some of these different things on the back of the card, because that's something people can feel, touch, it's textile. Then they know, oh, this is great. I'm going to try a shot here. Some people, it's too strong. So hence moving forward to promoting people adding it to like spritzer or a juice or something else, make your own beverage. Cook with it, make tea, This then became what we were discussing with the apple juice. So this is the heirloom organic apple juice that we source near where we source our apple cider vinegar. And so we just wanted to do something fun and different and see what could happen from this, since I've tried it with apple juice before and I love the elixir. So it makes it like a spiced apple cider. So I was like, let's try it with this. So then not only are we making an additional value-added product, we're actually promoting another small farm. And so that's the importance, is that we're promoting that we can work together and we do benefit from each other. Then, quick rundown. Then we dehydrate all of our ginger and turmeric pulp to make the powder that we have. So we have ginger, turmeric powder, which goes into our honey paste. The honey paste is a blend of honey, ginger, turmeric powder, cinnamon, lotus pollen, lotus root, Hawaiian chili pepper, and coconut oil. This is very similar, and it's staying on brand with what this product is. So everything we're doing isn't going too far away. The main thing is we're able to utilize something from each one of our base products so that we are staying on brand and not like, oh, we're making this and then we're going to make grape juice. We're kind of staying along with what we're promoting. From there, we got really creative because we have so much starch at the bottom of the buckets, which starch is still in the juice, but we had this product that it was like, what can happen from this? Amanda, who works with Ho'ola and Farm to Car, was someone that was like, we can't get rid of this. So we started utilizing the dehydrators here to dehydrate it to see what we could do. This starch actually acts like cornstarch. It's a thickener. So we've passed it on to different chefs, people that do body products. It's the consistency of cornstarch, and it's pure. This is the ginger and Olena starch combined. And so people can cook with it. You can add it as a thickener. And it's just another way to get creative with the things that we're making already and how can we turn that into other things. So, and one of our other producers, Kalo and Cream, because we're talking about canning some of our spritzers, actually going on a canning line and canning some of our recipes. We need to have it in a certain base to be able to combine it with the sparkling water and the elixir and all the things. So we had Kalo and Cream, that's a business here on island, that were helping us to come up with making syrups. So we're looking at different ideas of like, can we use cane, coconut sugar? Can we do this? Can we do that? Because we also are working with the fact that we work with a lot of people are interested in our product, but they're vegan. They don't do honey. So then there comes a time where you start considering certain things like, should we make options? Should we not? We're now looking into the possibility of some of those options, although moving forward, it's just a part of the evolution of the business. But stick with your main idea and feel good about that. Then get creative, one thing at a time, not 20. And now we have spritzers. So what I am going to make for you today is, if you would like, is I have our seasonal spice cider that is fantastic warmed. You can add it to a lot of different things. And one of the ways that I also like it is I like it with sparkling water. And this cider has, as I mentioned before, our elixir in it. So that's what's made it that little kind of seasonal spice to it. So what I'm doing is I'm doing a spritzer that has ice, sparkling water, and some of our seasonal spiced apple cider. It's very refreshing and great. And also we have some shot glasses, and people are welcome to also try a straight shot of our elixir. Over here, we also have samples of the paste that I'm hearing could be very jazzy with the animal crackers. Would anyone here, and sorry folks at home, but you can always come and join me at the Hilo Food Hub for a spritzer if you'd like and have a tour, or order from farm to car. And if you're not on the islands, you can order online at uprootorigin.com. Or also, we do have a suggested recipe page on our website with some fun things that you can do. Would you ladies like a spritzer? Straight shot? Would you like a beverage? Oops. And everyone can have everything. We're big on samples too. That's another thing. Samples are fun. Yes, we do need a special event permit, but that is a good way to get our product into someone's mouth.
Well, we're inside a commercial.
Yes. Yes, we can.
Well, that's gonna
Spritzer?
Wrap it up for the people at home on the Zoom. Thank you all for joining us.